This is WFYI News Now. It's Wednesday, January 7th, and I'm Sarah Neal Estes. Here are today's Central Indiana and statewide stories. Indiana U.S. House Representative Jim Baird and his wife are expected to make a full recovery following a car accident. They were hospitalized after their vehicle was hit in a crash. Details of that crash have not been released. The Republican from Greencastle represents Indiana's 4th congressional district, which includes Lafayette, West Lafayette, and much of rural northwest Indiana. Indiana's high school class of 2025 achieved the highest graduation rate on record, though gaps between some student groups remain. Eric Weddle reports.
The State Department of Education says nearly 92% of seniors graduated last year. That continues a 3-year trend of improvement following the pandemic. The state also says the number of students graduating without a waiver also hit a record high. That means 90% of graduates met all academic and career readiness standards without needing an exception. Despite this progress, gaps remain. Graduation rates for Black and Hispanic students improved, but they still trail the average and lag behind their white peers. The data comes as the state prepares new, career-focused diploma requirements for the class of 2029. I'm Eric Weddle in Indianapolis.
The Indiana Black Legislative Caucus released its priorities for the 2026 legislative session yesterday. They are similar to those released by the Democratic caucuses in the House and Senate and focus on cost of living issues for working families. Ben Thorpe reports.
The IBLC's priorities include efforts to protect some people from utility disconnections through the summer, funding for child care, and the creation of a scam prevention board. Democratic Representative Earl Harris says that while Indiana's economy is strong, state residents aren't feeling the positive impacts of that economy.
An economy that prioritizes a few over many is not strong, it's predatory. Hoosiers deserve an economy and a system that works for them.
Other legislation offered by the caucus includes limiting the number of homes that can be owned by a single taxpayer and another that would stop a lien from being placed on a person's home because of medical debt. Lawmakers will have a limited time to discuss new legislation during this shortened session. I'm Ben Thorpe at the State House.
In Indianapolis, the number of police-involved shootings is down. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department recorded 8 officer-involved shootings last year. IMPD Chief Chris Bailey acknowledges the decrease, but says even one incident is unwanted.
I want that number to be 0 because that means our officers weren't put in a position where they could have lost their life and a community member isn't losing theirs. There's trauma that occurs on both sides of that.
Officer-involved shootings spiked in 2023 and 2024, marking a high of 18. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention cut the number of vaccines routinely recommended for all children from 17 to 11. Farrah Anderson reports Indiana health advocates say that change could put children at risk.
Deb Robarge lives in Fishers. She has cared for her son for decades after he contracted meningitis as a baby, an illness that left him deaf. Robarge says changes like this worry her.
I feel like it's like setting kids up to become very sick, and some of them will die.
Under the new schedule, vaccines once recommended for all children, including those for meningitis, rotavirus, hepatitis A and B, and seasonal flu, are now more limited. They're recommended only for children considered high risk or after a conversation with a healthcare provider. The Indiana Immunization Coalition says vaccine recommendations must be based on strong scientific evidence and reflect the risks facing children in Indiana. I'm Farrah Anderson in Indianapolis.
Indiana residents can start filing to run in the primary election. April Rickert reports today is the first day major party candidates can declare a run.
Ballots will include state offices and lawmakers, as well as U.S. congressional seats. Residents can register to vote or update their registration at indianavoters.com. The last day to register to vote in the primary election is April 6th. The primary election itself is Tuesday, May 5th. I'm April Rickert in Jeffersonville.
The deadline to file to run is Friday, February 6th. That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Zach Bundy with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Kendall Antron produced our music, and if you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube to get the latest updates from our newsroom anytime. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.